Too many.
I know
count.
what happens to him. People just come up and yell lines at you, right? From what you've
I would
been
imagine so.
It's Clint Howard.
Landers suck.
Now, Chick, admittedly, you and I have been yelling it all week.
Yeah.
That's true.
People have been, they want me to say it. They don't really say it to me. They seem to get a kick out of wanting me to say it. So when I say Ann Landers sucks, and I really give it to him, I give him the full Monty.
Let's see. Can we hear it, please?
Like you did in the back seat on the Seinfeld show. Yeah.
Ann Landers sucks.
Yes.
Well, now that will forever be on repeat.
Yes.
Clint Howard is our guest, along with Kathleen Dunbar. And Clint, have you seen every movie you've been in, or sometimes you just pass?
No, I believe there's probably been things I haven't seen, but I've seen most of them. I've seen little clips, or at least my scene.
Yeah, because when looking you up, it's just this endless stream
It's
of
almost
TV shows and
overwhelming
movies.
of how many things you've been in. Yeah.
Well, I've been really lucky, and I tell you what, I did really well when I was a child, and obviously the camera liked me, and I had a great mentor. My dad was a wonderful.
The great Rance Howard. Yeah.
Rance Howard's still alive. In fact, he's getting ready to go work on a movie, and he's gonna turn 89 years old here pretty soon. And
Man.
he's working on a 3-week movie, and he's number 1 on the call sheet.
Wow.
So
That's great.
yeah, no. But I tell you what, and it's something I realized about a year ago. Dad was always just this wonderful mentor, but Ron was a great example. My brother Ron Howard, 5 years older than me. It was like having an older brother who was a baseball player or something. It's like, oh, I can do that. I can do what he does. So there was no competition, just an opportunity for him to show me what he was doing was very doable. So I had no fear. I never had any fear of acting. And then as a young man, I certainly made horrible mistakes that a much younger man makes. And then needing to get kind of myself back on track and getting my career going, I worked in everything. There was only one film that I didn't do, and that was, because of the wardrobe, it was The Flintstones.
Oh.
Oh.
There's no way I'm going to be one of Fred and Barney's bowling buddies, because with that fur-lined leather bowling outfit, there is no way Clint is looking good. And so that actually is there's been a couple of things, some out of taste, but that was just pure vanity. I did not work in the original Flintstones.
Gotcha.
Is there a particular, when people come up to you, you try to gauge which one they're going to ask you about as they approach?
You can kind of tell. It happens so fast. I get the Seinfeld. The Star Trek is something that you can kind of see the Trekkies. And if you can listen to a Trekkie for a couple of minutes, you can tell what level of Trekkie, whether they're like super geek or whether they just at one point watched the show. The Gentle Ben used to be not the bane of my existence, but, hey, where's the bear? Is he double parked?
Right.
Oh,
Do you own the bear, or is the bear real? And I was like 8 years old, and I'm looking at these people. Are you an idiot? Look at that. Is that a guy in a bear suit? I don't think so.
Didn't the bear smell bad?
Yes.
It smelled bad. The bear smelled bad. I heard, yeah.
The bear ate prodigiously.
Oh, I bet.
He was
a
a
bear.
You wanted him full.
Yeah. Well, he was a vegetarian.
Oh. Okay.
Well, the Hollywood bear, yeah.
Of course.
Friends with Woody Harrelson.
I am seeing in my mind the bear in a hot tub and sunglasses reading his lines for the next day. Coincides for the next day.
Telling everybody
Having
he's a
kale
vegetarian.
salad for lunch.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I know the Howards. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He, what they did the very first time that I was introduced to the bear, actually there were 3 bears, was they threw in a fresh piece of meat, a raw steak. And Bruno went over and smelled it, didn't have any interest in it. They threw in a box of donuts. And Bruno ate the donuts like within seconds. Along with that came instructions that this particular bear, although it will eat meat if it has to, the way we have trained it not trained it, the way we've raised it, it looks at you not as a meal, as a source of a meal. where you can bring him donuts, or that's how they got the bear to follow me, is they would put a cookie in my pocket. Or if they wanted the bear to kiss me, they would put a lifesaver in my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, that could go wrong.
The second trip down to the doctor's office to get the shot, I had
The
to,
bear ate my face.
it was a wonderful experience, and getting to hang out with my dad, because he worked on the show. He played Henry Boomhauer. He was Dennis's sidekick in the show. And a small anecdotal thing is Dennis Weaver introduced my mom and dad to each other at the University of Oklahoma.
Oh. Very nice.
Yeah, they were there, and Dennis was a senior doing like advanced work, meaning getting a job as a teacher, and he was doing a film scene study class. And my mom and dad were both freshmen, and Dennis paired them up,
All right.
and the rest is history.
We're talking with Clint Howard, and he's part of the famous Horror Hound gathering. You're not a big horror movie buff yourself, just in a lot of them.
I'm in a lot of them. I honestly wouldn't choose to go. The Exorcist was, to me, one of the all-time great movies that has ever been done.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say I'm a horror fan. I love it. And I'll tell you what, I went to the Horror Hounds in Cincinnati. It's a real small, kind of family-oriented collection of people. And they so impressed me with their enthusiasm towards the horror genre that, I don't know, I just felt like that eventually I was going to come and be in another Horror Hound, and I was. And listen, I'm really enjoying it. One thing about the horror movie is I was doing an audition for a sitcom, classic Mary Tyler Moore-like sitcom, and I had gotten the job. And one of the well-heeled executive writers was looking at me, and he goes, I just saw you in something. It was ticks. And I had to remind him, it's the insect, not the mammary gland. But I was feeling very confident. And this guy goes, yeah, you were in ticks. And I went, why? Why did you watch it? And he gave the most succinct answer. He said, horror films are a little like Mexican food. It's not the greatest thing in the world for you, but it's spicy, and every once in a while you want to have one. So every once in a while, him and his wife would cue up a horror film.
Yeah.
And I felt like that is the greatest, analogy, the greatest way to describe horror. I think if you watch horror all the time, you got to screw loose.
Josh, you want to take this?
I am a big horror fan, but as you guys know, I watch all movies. I watch all kinds of movies, so I'm not necessarily in that class of people that Clint's talking about.
Is this a democracy? Do we get to vote?
No, oh God, no.
No, I don't believe in democracy. We've already established that. We've got a couple of heads in here that have a lot of skin on them. One would be mine. The other would belong to Clint Howard, actor. You probably was your first gig the Andy Griffith show. You didn't talk on the show though. You just handed out candy or something.
1961 in December.
Wow.
I saw my first setup. I have a tax return from 1961.
Oh my
cool.
God, that's hilarious.
$67 I made.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, and they taxed me.
Wow. What does a kid pay taxes?
It was like $17.
Wow.
Yeah, no, they nailed me pretty good. Sure. And then the next year I had an agent. I started motoring along, working pretty good. I was like, 3-4 years old, and I was cooking along. I
Wow.
had an agent.
You've been going ever since. That's
Yeah.
great.
Clint,
Now,
I'm a child of the 80s, and you couldn't walk into any video store without seeing Ice Cream Man on the shelf.
Oh, Lord.
Would you
Oh,
say
yeah.
that might be one of your more famous photos of you? Or if you haven't seen it, he plays an evil ice cream man. But the cover of it, he's holding an ice cream cone that's filled with entrails, I suppose, eyeballs. And things.
Eyeballs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a sequence in the picture where I believe it's Lee Majors Jr. enjoys a nice eyeball with his ice cream.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
there it is.
This is a really full-on, this was a full-on rude kind of movie. Ice Cream Man.
Let me see, Christy.
And
Actually, that's a toned down.
Oh,
cover
there's
there,
a
yeah.
different one?
the director, a guy named Norman Apstein, who happened to be a prolific pornographic filmmaker, Paul Norman, back in the day, we've remained friends, and the idea of doing a sequel has always kind of come to mind. And I wouldn't be the Ice Cream Man anymore. I'd be the evil the evil voice that sits in the ice cream man's head or something.
Yeah.
But we went to a screening of the picture in a faraway place, long way outside of Los Angeles, and it was funky. And about halfway through the screening, Norman leaned over to me and said, "We're not doing a sequel." And I kind of sensed why. And then afterwards, he told me, he goes, "You know what? If we do a sequel, if it's really good, that means people are going to come back and watch this one." And there's no way. There is no way. I would pay big money to not have people watch that picture. And Norman felt the same way. I mean, listen, that's being a little facetious. We have a pretty good idea for a sequel, but let's just let that one lay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm looking at the other poster where the eyeball is on there, and you have the maniacal look on your face.
What?
Kind of a smile.
Yeah, listen, that's one thing that it's kind of my bread and butter is that evil eyeball stare that sends people screaming into the night.
Now, are you in every one of your brother Ron Howard's movies?
Oh, no, there's been a lot. Actually, the one that stopped the streak was, Ransom. And then I wasn't in Beautiful Mind, and I wasn't in any of the Da Vinci Code movies.
Did that hurt your feelings?
Can I say it pisses me off?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sure.
Your honesty is wonderful and refreshing. Because if you were your brother, you'd put him in your movies.
Well, to a point.
Now, let me ask you a real quick question. If let's just say this is kind of a Hitchcock story here, but let's just say he took a still photograph of you and put it like on a shelf in some random scene in the Da Vinci Code, and people would have to really be looking for it to see it. Would you, as an actor, have to get paid for being in the movie?
Yes.
Your likeness is being
your
used.
likeness is just on a bookshelf or something.
If I believe that it comes down basically as simple as if your trademarked presence is being used to make money, then they need to get clearance from you. Now, listen, Ron has a trademark. Cheryl, Ron's wife, has been in every movie that he's ever done. Now, there's been lots that I haven't been in, and some of it was recently. He's been making movies over in Europe. And he just can't really afford to bring an actor, especially, listen, nowadays, they are cutting, even people like Ron, they're cutting the cost of movies down to the bone.
Yes.
So it's rare that he has the opportunity to bring an actor to America. He always wants to work with me. We just had the opportunity to sort of rendezvous again, and it's fun. Listen, I remember Ron when he was, 15 years old and I was 10. And he desperately wanted to be a filmmaker. And I just remember that drive that he had. And he wasn't screwing around. It wasn't like something he could do on the side. It wasn't something that he was going to fully pot commit to being a film director. Wow. And I watched him. And, listen, people don't remember this. He was Opie. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine going through adolescence and puberty?
Nope.
High school basketball, playing on the other team's gym floor when the game is tied and you're shooting free throws. What do you think the cheerleaders are cheering?
I've seen the interview with him, Dopey Opie. Right?
And, he had this intestinal fortitude that it didn't show because he looks like Ron Howard. I mean, he looks like Opie, for crying out loud. His son looked like Opie. He couldn't help it. But I'll tell you what, he had this intestinal fortitude that I think, to this day drives him. I mean, not like a maniacal man, but, he likes to get his pound back.
Did he call you when you weren't going to be, when the streak was going to be over? Did he call you and say, "Hey, by the way, Clint, I'm working on this film. There's not really a spot for you." And
why are you asking him these
at Thanksgiving?
Yeah, you say
at
he's
Thanksgiving,
It was an awkward Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So,
Did you
Ron,
say-
I hear you're making a new movie. I guess my invitation
Hey,
is busted out of the wall.
Ron, pass the potatoes like you passed me up for a beautiful mind, you son of a bitch.
Enjoying your turkey like you're eating my heart out.
I have a little more taste than you have.
Clearly.
There's a shot. Yeah.
No, I tell you what, he did, and it was Ransom. And it was just the fact that they were shooting in New York, and there really wasn't anything in it for me. He didn't feel like it was right for me to be FBI guy number 4. And I agreed with him. Listen, he's always been the chief, and I've been an Indian. And he's the director having to make decisions. Now, if I can help him, if I think I can help him, I'm going to lobby. But if he says, no, you just can't really help me out on this, I mean, I can still be irritated. And my mom always used to say, I had kind of a Teflon psyche growing up. I would let things bother me for a couple of days, and then it would just kind of roll off, and I would carry on. And there's been actually worse than getting that first conversation with Ron where he said, I don't think there's anything in it for me. Because I knew eventually I was not going to be in some of his movies. It's when I felt like I had a pretty good part in a picture that he was making that they didn't want to hire me for. That irritates me because first and foremost, I love him. He's my brother. But I'm an actor and I'm competitive. And they don't see me playing that part. Are they frigging idiots?
right.
You know, so that's the one that I held on to a little more than...
When you're going through it, like you turn on the TV and if you're blasting through the channels, what movie of yours do you actually stop and watch for a while? Is there one where you go, oh, God, this actually is really great. I really want to see this one.
Apollo 13.
Oh, I love
Yep.
that movie.
I was going to get
Over and over and
Yes, absolutely.
I will stop and watch
Yep.
just because it's so well constructed. I'm not sure. Listen, some movies, like if Gung Ho came on,
Yeah.
I would watch it for entertainment value and to see the faces and see kind of the way the thing is. But to me, Apollo 13 holds up like Apocalypse Now or Raging Bull. It's just one of those things that just doesn't hardly have a false beat in the picture. So
No.
that's my favorite.
We're talking with Clint Howard, by the way. And hey, I kind of caught part of a conversation off the air. You guys were talking about music, and you're a big Cheap Trick fan, and as we are, they've been in the studio playing for us. You were in a band?
Oh, yeah.
What were they called?
We were Clint Howard and the Kempsters, and we played in
The
like
Kempsters?
Kempsters, Kempsters.
Huh.
It's a British slang expression for a warrior.
Oh.
I lived on Kemp Street. That's why we were called the Kempsters.
Oh, okay.
We practiced in the living room.
Oh, I bet Mom liked that.
Well, Mom wasn't around there. The neighbors didn't like it. I was the first guy in my kind of set of friends that had a house. And so it was like the Burbank Youth Center.
Okay.
We had the monitors set up in the living room. We dressed aside the dining room table.
Oh, sure.
The drums were right there.
Were you the singer?
Yes, I was the front man.
Did you write the songs?
Yes.
Any titles have come to mind?
Billy with a clear head.
I like that. Was this was this of the
Billy
punk
with the
punk
clear head,
genre, the
clear
new
Punk
wave?
pop, not pop, punk, left-handed boy in a right-handed world. I don't care nothing. I don't care nothing. That's about me hitting a note there. It's about the best I can.
I don't kill nothing. What was
No,
that?
I don't care.
I don't care, man.
I don't care nothing. Okay, so we've got some grammar issues.
Oh, geez.
Left-handed boy. Wait, hold on. Time out. Is this man going to talk to me about grammar?
Oh, yes.
30 years.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
produced many albums.
Do you have a red pen that you go around?
Oh, yeah. Edit, yep.
It's right here.
It's an audio red pen.
I'll tell you, I was very lucky. We had a great bunch of guys, and one of our guitar players kept an archives, and it was all on tape. And we would show up and do shows at Madame Wong's or HJ's or Bit of New York, and he would just put his Sony, I guess I can say that, it's an old archaic product, the Walkman, the stereo Walkman on a cocktail table just in the room. And most of the time the mix would be really bad, but in a couple of cases the mix was not bad. And we did a handful of little demo recordings and things, and I put the
Compilation?
compilation
Thank you.
together and made a couple of CDs, and now I can listen to it, and it's fun, and there a few of them are out there.
I'm surprised 'cause you were Leon on the Andy Griffith show. You probably should have gone with Kings of Leon as a name instead of that Kempster, whatever the hell that
Remember
was.
he-
God, you know, where was he when we needed a manager?
He'd hold the ice cream up on the Andy Griffith show. He never had any,
The mad scientist hairdo would be being worn by Clint Howard right now. I think it's safe to say. Isn't that pretty much a mad scientist hairdo?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I keep playing parts. I keep getting these roles of being hermits. And so you should have seen me a couple of weeks ago. I had a beard that was sort of like...
Was it yours or was it pasted on?
No, it was mine. I can grow one pretty good. It's just a matter of I've wanted to have my hair cut and cleaned up now for about 4 or 5 years, but I guess I'm playing the psycho now. I'm having a second cycle of psychos going on, and I'm doing it. So
you do have that look of the chemistry teacher that went bad, but went really bad.
Yeah.
Clint Howard is our guest. Chick McGee's, of course, over at the Bob and Tom Sports Desk.
Where else would I be?
Do you, in terms of real friends, actual buddies that you're really close to, are there any famous actors that you're really good friends with?
Yeah.
They're good people.
There you go.
It's a yes or no question.
Yes, I have. There are a couple of guys that I've just chemistry, remain friends. We don't see each other all the time, but when we do see each other, there's, it doesn't matter who we are, what we've done, who our brothers are, who our sisters are, whatever. It's just camaraderie. And listen, most of my friends are not show business people. Most people I hang out with, one guy does payroll for a production company, but I played high school baseball with him. It's show business. There's a competition involved in even if it's just actor to writer or wardrobe person to director. There's kind of a competition that show business doesn't really make for great friendships. I don't know. Maybe it does in some circles. At least with me, it's really not.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone in radio I can stand.
There you go.
Wait a minute.
Just kidding. Little joke there.
We're in radio. What the hell?
Clint, have you ever written a movie?
Yes, I have. I've written a couple things. I've written a couple things that have been aired. There was a TV movie I wrote a long time ago. There was a pilot for a TV series that got shot. I wrote a spec script for a film that I would really like to do called Where's Little Louie, that is part, not autobiographical, but it's about a former child actor who kind of ends up being more like Carl from Sling Blade. And that would fall into the horror genre. That's something that, if there was anything I was going to do in the next 3 or 4 years that would be me making a signature on the business, it would be directing and acting in this little movie called Where's Little Louie. And it's a quirky thing, and a friend of mine who's no longer with us, he originally concocted the idea, and I worked with him until he got cancer and died, and then I carried the ball for a while, and then the thing kind of fell apart. But I'm still the right age to play the guy, so I'd like to.
So is Little Louie the child actor who? Little
Louie, 2-time Emmy-winning child actor. His real name was Lonnie Morgan, which of course wasn't his real name. Mm-hmm. His real name was Leonard. And now when he got kicked in the head by a horse when he was 12 or 13 years old, he basically got show business kicked out of him. And he got stymied, so to speak, and he also lost an eye. So he went back to his Christian name, which is Leonard, and he just gets left alone for a long time. And the fact is he should be left alone because we do not want Leonard taken out in the spotlight.
Gotcha.
And so anyway, it's a pretty interesting idea. I've got a lot of good response from it. I enjoy writing. For a long time, I didn't like spending time in my own head. And I don't know, maybe I just have gotten crustier and more used to myself, but...
Your hair felt the same way.
Wow, look who's throwing stones.
Yeah. Well, God knows, you're an Adonis. There's no doubt about it. You and your hair, my God. But how do you talk to people that...
I want Clint to have...
Any wonder Clint Howard won't come back? Is that right?
I wanted him to have some fun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. Did he say something about me being bald?
Yeah, I know.
Because I kind of tuned him out.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
You just said you didn't want to spend any time in your head, much like my hair.
Oh, I
that?
see.
Is that a better way to say it?
I see. So the same thing you could say about your eyebrows?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I see.
Are they gone now? I'm sorry.
No, I'll tell you what. I would love to direct. I also know it is a young person's job. When you're directing a movie, you've got somebody tapping you on the shoulder about 18 hours a day. And in pre-production, that can be, for months. And it can tire you out. And the one thing I like about acting is they give you a dressing room, and when you're not working, you can go take a nap. I don't think I've ever seen a director take a nap.
Oh.
Yeah, we
I
like naps. Yeah. I love naps.
So you know what? I like the
too.
trailer. In fact, I did a commercial. I did a show not that long ago. It was down in Nashville, and my dressing room had a faux fireplace in it.
Oh,
Nice.
And it had a raised
Mine
bowl.
had 5.
It had a raised bowl for the sink in the toilet.
Ooh, fancy.
High-end trailer,
Yeah.
Nashville. Faux fireplace.
Clint, I don't know if you caught that or not, but you said you had a faux fireplace, and Tom said he had 5 fireplaces.
Oh, he's a sharp one.
Funny Tom.